Okay, today I'm going to take a walk around Shell Island in North Wales. The tide's out, and when it's in, it might actually come up to where I've parked my car right here in this parking spots. Yeah, so the sun came out today for a change. We've had okay, so this is a tidal causeway to Shell Island, and it does when there's very high tides, which happens every month, it does get flooded, so it cuts off the so-called Shell Island for a few hours. But there's a guy there walking his dog. I don't know if you can pick him out there in this kind of like marshland. Now this is a private road that I believe I'm not sure, I believe it belongs to Shell Island. It's not actually, but of course it's yeah, it's about a mile long, this causeway, before it gets onto Shell Island itself. It actually isn't an island, it's sheep. It isn't actually an island, it is the sand dunes. It's a kind of more like kind of like a peninsula, I think. It's not actually an island, but they call it Shell Island, I think, for marketing purposes. It was originally a farm. A handy parking spot. I haven't noticed that before, that parking spot. I'm about a third of the way along the causeway. Okay, there's the Mulver. There's another, I don't know if you can pick him out somewhere over there. There's another hiker. He's going on on the path that I'll return on a little bit later on. There's, as I was saying, there's the Rinogs back there, Mulver. Unfortunately, it's a little bit misty today, so normally you'd get a very good all-round view of the mountains of North Wales from Shell Island, but it's misty. The sun's come out, and there's no the wind has it's disappeared. The gale force winds we had in recent days, but yeah, unfortunately it's gone misty. Of course, it's excellent for these various. There's some ducks there. They just took off when I came, and I don't know, that's some kind of a bird there. I don't know, it's a seagull. No, I think it's, yeah, maybe a tern, is it? I'm not sure. But yeah, okay, so there's culverts onto this road to allow the water to drain from the that side of the marsh. Welcome to Shell Island. So it's claimed to be the largest campsite in Europe. Okay, it's very, very popular here in the summer, and of course it's closed in the winter, and it's reopened at March the 20th. And even though it's supposedly the largest campsite in Europe, it actually does get full up on the holiday weekends, and even fairly early, unlike Easter. If it's a nice Easter, it will get full up, and people will be turned away. There's the tavern. That would be obviously do a good business here, but there is, of course, yeah. You just walk from your tent or your most people, mobile homes, motorhomes, I should say, are allowed. As I mentioned, this was before they opened it up as a campsite. It was a farm, and I think that's the original farm building there. Probably been there centuries. It is. I'm not sure if the owner. I'm not sure if the owner still actually lives there. Probably not. It's the money he makes. He might have well, you might live in Monaco or someplace like that in the south of France in the winter months. As I mentioned, for me anyway, one of the major attractions is Shell Island, because I used to camp here with the family when I was a kid. Not so much when I was a kid, but maybe later on. I'd join with the family outings up here for a weekend or so, or for even for a few days. And one of the major attractions was the all-round view you have of the mountains, as well as the sea, of course. But today, unfortunately, it is a little bit misty. And one other thing I'll point out, as you can see, it's a rocky shoreline, not much in the way of a sandy beach. There is some places you can maybe, well, on the grass, that's where, yeah. But you can see it's an excellent place to pitch a tent in the sea. You can hear the sound of the surf, and and that's how extensive it is. It does go, I think, from one end to the other. It's roughly about 2 miles, I think, and maybe, well, it's about half a mile wide, maybe a little bit wider at the far end. Of course, today it's a Saturday, but there's no one here. I imagine there's a skeleton crew here just to keep an eye on things and do the odd maintenance jobs. But yes, this would be totally different, of course, on a holiday weekend in the summer. There'd be thousands here, if not tens of thousands. I can see a solitary jogger there coming up, so yeah, so excellent. I think you're allowed to access to this, so well, I've never had any problem. Now this is part of the Wales coast path, and this is where there's a sharp turning. It's heading south that way, so I'll just go along there just to maybe walk a little bit of the Wales coast path. Okay, Shell Island South Beach. So let's go down here and see how much of a beach it is. I think it's, well, it looks like a pebbly beach. There's not much in the way of sand, I think. Yeah, okay. There's a little bit of a, well, shingle beach here. So it'd be a bit awkward swimming though with all those rocks. Now, actually, funny enough, I haven't been along this particular beach before, so I'll just go along here a short distance and then cut back into the campground. Take back what I said. I thought it was all like that, kind of like boulders, but here's a nice expansive beach here. And this is a beach, I think, which pretty well goes all the way south, about another 8 miles to Barmouth. It's a wide sandy beach. So this is the beach right here. So it'll be safe to swim here. Well, reasonably safe. So no wind today, of course. The temperatures are in the mid-30s, but it feels warmer because, well, no wind. It's the sun, you can feel the warmth of the sun. Yes, an excellent beach. It's getting, well, that's over a quarter of a mile wide here, and of course the tide is out. Okay, so I won't go too much further down this beach. I'll come back in and see if I can pick up the footpath back to the car. but I'll use that word I like to use, surreal. It is surreal that in the summer months there'll be thousands of people on this beach, maybe, or hundreds. Well, thousands of course on the campsite, but right now absolutely no one in sight. I could be up in the Baffin Islands right at the north of Canada on the Arctic Circle. No one in sight at all. Yeah, well, surreal. Another feature, of course, of the of Shell Island are these sand dunes. Well, great for kids, of course, to play in, dig holes or whatever, or slide down. And this is where the tide comes up here. You can see all the driftwood, and there's a lobster, a kind of what do you call them, cage of some kind. Yeah. Okay, so there's no one's walked here recently, no boot marks, so I'll just walk through these dunes and pick up the path. Okay, say goodbye to the sea there as I reach the actual the end of the dunes and descend down into the campground. See, we did have a slight frost last night. There's just a skim of ice on these kind of little puddles here. Yeah. Now, I say it's a very large campsite, so it's make sure I'm going the right way. Haven't okay, I see a sign over there. Just the Welsh Coast Path sign on the right track here, and there's a couple of walkers there. Obviously with this weather, and it's a Saturday weekend, there should be walkers about. Now for those campers that would rather camp in kind of like wooded areas, there is this section of woodland at this end of the campsite. Okay, this is where the Wales Coast Path turns up there to the edge of the campsite, boundary of the campsite. And this is well, you can see, a very well constructed, a tarmac, well, it's a cycleway actually, part of the Wales Coast Path. Over there in the distance you can see the campsite buildings. There's a bar there, of course, and gift shops, restaurants. It's quite a nice little complex. I'm not sure what these are. They kind of almost looks like wheat. Well, it's kind of like walking through a little canyon here. Some kind of marsh grass. An excellent path, constructed at some expense a few years ago, not long ago, when they put in the Wales Coast Path, made an official long distance path. And those buildings over there were formerly aircraft hangars. That used to be an RAF base there. In the Second World War it was a training base, and then after the war I think it served as a test to test certain types of aircraft maybe drones. And but Canberras used to, when I was a kid, of course, and came up here, Canberras used to be flying quite often overhead. Canberra were like bombers. And of course, it's also now used as for light aircraft. Like there's a little training school there, I believe, and I think they also offer little flights, sightseeing flights in the area. Now, you can see how high the tides sometimes get. Even this causeway well above it occasionally gets flooded. Guessing where it is, but yeah, there's a little light plane about to take off there. And these little things in the foreground, these landing lights, yeah. There's that plane there about to take off. Now that runway there, I don't know, you can pick it out in the, it's a very long runway. I think jumbo jets can actually land on it. There he is, taking off. Oh, he soon gets airborne. After just 5 or 6 seconds, he's airborne. Now the road I came down is just a little over 100 yards away, and there's some people walking on it, going down to Shell Island. They say there's very little traffic on it this time of year. Now another feature about that that airfield there is they've been talking for, well, maybe 3 or 4 years, I think, about possibly selecting this as one of those spaceports, which would completely transform this area. But I think there's a disadvantage. Access, road access. The roads, main roads are, well, they're Welsh main roads. They're not kind of like motorways by any stretch of the imagination. And so that will probably be a disadvantage, to say the least. Okay, now some of these aircraft hangars, former aircraft hangars, have been taken over by as kind of small industrial units, and that one's been taken over by the local moving company or removal company, Night Movers, and I jokingly refer to them as fly-by night movers, but of course that's just a joke. It's nothing. I have used them before and no problem. Excellent service. Yeah, I'm coming to the end of this walk. Sheep. One thing that Wales is famous for is sheep. There's millions and millions of them. They far outnumber the human species. There's that road I walked down. You can see it's. I join it. I come back on it. Well, my car's just a few yards away. Okay, there's the trusty Wales Coast Path sign, and cars there, no problem. Okay, so that's the end of the walk.